I don't know. I might be knocking his door in like 2 months going, I can't wait, dude. Give me another one. Suburban moms everywhere breathe in a sigh of relief.
I tell you, I like him though. I think he is really funny. Hi, I'm Teresa. Welcome to Cocoon Cast, where we deep dive into movies and discuss all things cinema.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. Today we're excited to introduce our new show, Real Good Movies. Yes, the pun is intentional. This is where we will be discussing our 3 favorite movies over the course of the last 3 months. However, in this show, we'll be covering the last 4 months. Oops. And be sure to stay till the end. We'll include some honorable mentions that didn't make the top 3, but are still worth watching.
Let's get started. The first movie I advocate for is Fall Guy.
Oh, this is your favorite movie this year. I can just tell.
I was going to say no particular order, however. Fall Guy!
Fall Guy that you've seen 5 times.
5 times. Twice with the Cocoon Cast team. Once by myself. That was actually fun. Slurpees and pretzel bites. I'm there, baby, in Dolby Cinema. Once at home in the Weasel Den, Badger Den at the home theater experience. And once on the airplane, flying back from back east.
See, that's how I know you're invested. You're watching it on an airplane.
Little screen. Did not take away. This is a real good movie.
This film has everything.
Everything?
Well, I know you've been really impressed with David Leitch recently. He did Bullet Train, which is another movie I didn't think you'd be into, but you got into it. You've been enjoying some of the John Wick series we've been watching at home.
I've been enjoying the John Wick, and we saw John Wick 4 in the theaters, but you're right. David Leitch is quite the professional. He and his wife also had a hand in the production in this movie.
And the stunt design as well, too.
Fall Guy is a reflection of my experience as a stunt performer.
Let's go. The shot's going to be epic.
There really is a practical element to every stunt we do in the movie.
He's a former stunt guy. You know this.
I do. I'm quite familiar with his work on the Bourne series. I was really impressed with that. I didn't realize that he had done a lot of stunt work for other movies until the John Wick series came out, and Keanu's like, I trust these guys.
Not only the directing, but the acting. Ryan Gosling, my favorite, not Ken.
That's me, Colt Sievers. And this is my hero's journey.
We just start from the top.
He does stunt.
He does stunt. I love Ryan Gosling. I think he is really funny.
What's an ice crime?
Are you saying ice cream or ice crime?
Ice crime.
Okay, it's just with your accent, it's hard. I'm not reporting an ice cream.
Yes, no, I get that.
Okay.
And the chemistry between him and Emily Blunt.
We need to keep it super professional.
Cool. Do you want to make out?
Nope.
Because I don't either. It's not what I'm into right now.
Making out?
Yeah.
What are you into?
Talking.
Yeah.
It was really sweet.
But we can't forget our guy, Winston Duke.
This is insane, man.
More Winston Duke, please.
I enjoyed him so much. He's Ryan Gosling's best friend. They're doing the whole movie banter back and forth. And I think that actually helped make the movie so great because the casting was really, really good.
And there's nobody you genuinely hated. Everybody had a joke.
Hey.
All right,
No,
fine.
there's a clear bad guy, and we don't want to spoil it for our cinema community who has not seen the movie 5 times.
See it once at least.
Yeah, right. Before you spoil it, no. And I don't want to spoil it, but I think that was the other part of it. That, like you said, there's no bad guys except for the bad guys. But it didn't feel silly. And even the casting, even Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling, it felt genuine, as crazy as that sounds.
I think it's also because these actors take time to work with their characters. It's really easy sometimes to notice when an actor's phoning it in. And I don't think they did that, even if they didn't do all of their own stunts.
However, Ryan Gosling pulled across the Sydney Harbor Bridge. That was him falling off. Wah! And he didn't really hurt his back. Just, spoiler alert, he was actually okay.
I was happy to be the first actor to say I did none of my own stunts, but it was important that I do some of the stunts for authenticity in the film. The whole opening sequence leads up to them dropping me 12 stories off of a building. Then I got dragged across the Sydney Harbor Bridge.
Suburban moms everywhere breathe in a sigh of relief.
I tell tell you, I like him, though. I think he is really funny. I think Emily Blunt, I think she's wicked funny.
We do, boss. Really?
Yeah.
Holster that.
Yeah, it's holstered. It's done. Forget. You never saw it.
And to put them together, it's just kind of weird. They kind of have this sibling kind of banter piece. But
you're saying it feels natural.
It does. It just feels like, hey, we've, been hanging out forever and we're very comfortable with one another.
I was surprised that this movie did not make as much money as we were projecting, though.
I know. We did the whole deep dive. Check out our full deep dive on this one. We were like, oh, it's a great one. It's going to be a summer blockbuster. And yeah, the critics loved it. People like us, we really loved it. Obviously, I think I give it a little bit more love than you. But it was so enjoyable and entertaining. Like we were talking about the witty banter. We liked all the different people. The dog. Let's not forget the dog.
Jean-Claude.
Yes, that's the point, right? It was so smart of a movie, but it just didn't quite make it at the theaters.
I'm worried that the studio didn't give it enough of a chance. I wish
Well, they pulled it, 2 weeks after it had hit the theater? Theaters were starting to pull it back at that point?
The same thing with our next film, too, that we'll be discussing.
Oh, that was crazy. But you think about it, right? The stunt work was phenomenal. World records, the whole barrel roll coming down, the beach.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. There were so many action shots in this movie.
Let's talk about the rating, because this was one of the other movies this year that you've adjusted your rating after seeing it.
That is true. I started out with 4 1/2. I laugh. I'm sure at that point you were like, where's the 5?
I was wondering.
It changed. And that's the funny thing. And when we were talking about, what are the real good movies that we want to talk about, we talk about them. None of them are a surprise. We come to a conclusion together, even though it sounds like I'm kind of dragging you the Fall Guy way. I actually beefed mine up. I started with a 4 1/2. I'm at a solid 5.
So right now that's your standing rating is the 5, correct?
5 is, 1 to 5. That's where I'm at.
I started with a 4. I am sticking with a 4.
Oh, wow. You know why you're sticking with a 4?
It's not phenomenal. It's phenomenal. You know what I mean? That hasn't creeped in the conversation yet.
Wow. But you've seen it twice at this point.
Yes. Once for the show and once for family night.
Hey, what you doing tonight? I hear Fall Guy may be playing at a local family home near you.
I think I'm going to be dragging my long legs to the theater for another experience.
Yeah, I hear this. What would you say it is closest to? If someone is not sure, maybe they haven't seen it, we're over here saying this is a real good movie. This is so much fun. What do you think?
Don't put the dog clip in. I would say it's pretty comparable to something like, I know we reviewed this on one of our earlier shows, is Night and Day. It's kind of like that snazzy dialogue that makes fun of itself, knows the environments, and it's a little self-referential for its own good sometimes, but it's pretty fun. I think the dialogue's way better than Night and Day, but it's that kind of tone.
It is. I think snappy is a good way to describe it. Rebecca, where can our cinema community find this movie if they so desire to see it 5 or more times?
Well, if you're in mom's camp or just want to watch it for the first time, you can purchase it online for viewing. And you can also purchase a physical media copy. It comes with a streaming license, so you can still watch it online. You can always wait till it becomes available for rental or add it to one of the streaming services as part of their packages.
It's a real good movie, cinema community. As I'm looking at you, it's a real good movie, Rebecca.
You don't need to say anything. I give it up.
Our second real good movie is one I know Rebecca was very excited about. Is this fair to say, Rebecca, this is your favorite real good movie we're discussing today?
I think this is my favorite out of the 3. All of the real good movies are movies that we've both seen together, so I can't include any of the other movies I've seen on my own, but this is my top pick today.
Wow. All right, drum roll, please. Without further ado, let's introduce our second movie, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Rebecca, tell us why you love this movie.
This is one of my real good movies for this round of picks because George Miller is the man. He does so much with what seems like an often sparse landscape, and he layers his movies. Is this crazy action-packed? Yes, sir, you betcha.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
This is kind of like post-apocalyptic Kill Bill. It feels like just an intense saga. There's this burning desire for revenge, but you really get to see this world that's laid out before you, and you get to interact with it with the characters. I like this even more than the film that follows it chronologically in the franchise, Fury Road, and that's still a pretty good movie.
Well, I laugh. It's not a real good movie. It's a pretty good movie.
Well, it got downgraded when this movie came out, so that should tell you something.
I was all right. Let's be honest here. This one we did not do a deep dive on.
Wanted to.
I everything in you. What? I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. I was pulled into Furiosa's story.
Whatever you have to do. However long it takes. Promise me you'll find your way home.
Like you said, George Miller, it's a beautiful film.
All of his films are just so sumptuous. Even like the nitty-gritty films, there's still a nice grunge tone to them. The guy has an eye for aesthetics.
It's funny though. It's not like dirty, like kind of grungy, but it's just kind of grungy, deserty kind of. And I know when we were talking, the box was saying, boy, there were all these different ways to catch people and look for people and take them out. It was like everything was just like, oh my gosh, I hadn't thought about that. Oh, here's a creative way. So even if you know the franchise, it didn't feel exhaustive, like, oh, here we go, one more, which is what I was worried I was going to feel like. I'm like, oh no, Mel Gibson's going to show up somewhere. Tina Turner, what? But it didn't feel that way.
Is that the last one you saw, Thunderdome?
No, we saw the one prior, or the one that followed this.
Yeah, we saw Fury Road at home, but before that, you had seen all of the Mad Max franchise?
I had seen them back in the day, and it's not the eye roll, but it just felt like, oh, it's going to be the same, or it's going to feel the same. And I'll tell you, when Furiosa was taken, and hopefully that's not a spoiler, that's pretty much in all the trailers, I'm like, go mom, you go get her. You go get her.
My mother was magnificent.
And there were decisions that Furiosa made that I really liked because it felt like something a kid would do. She was scrappy. She protected herself. She protected other people. And clearly, I mean, she's out for revenge. It's like, you take my mom. You take me away from my life.
My childhood. My mother. I want them back. I want them back.
I'm coming for, I mean, this is classic John Wick.
Guns. Lots of guns.
Right, you took my dog, I'm coming for you. But yet it was different in that respect. She wasn't hardened, she was strong, and it was engaging, and there wasn't a ton of dialogue. That's the part that surprised me.
I know you like your lack of dialogue. I've poked at you before.
I don't know why, but for some reason, not a lot of dialogue, but the looks on her face.
So Anya was very expressive to you.
Oh, she was great to me. I really found this very impressive. And the story and how they were telling the story, I think, really grabbed my attention. I ended up seeing it twice. I saw it once with you and our team, and then the box and I were on vacation and we were with friends and they hadn't seen it. And I said, I've seen Fall Guy 5 times. Maybe we should see something else. No, I was actually happy to see it again because visually it was very beautiful.
Let's talk about some of the other performances. The dreaded Dementis.
And he took it all from me.
Who do we have here?
Chris Hemsworth, I loved him. He stole the show for me.
He's great. He's totally the opposite of Immortan Joe, which I was so worried because Immortan Joe is this very big, imposing figure. And I'm like, how are you going to get somebody scarier than him? Pick somebody off the rails. And Chris Hemsworth definitely did that, made it epic to boot.
Yes. And I recall you said you weren't, in the beginning, you weren't thinking that was him.
No, there's actually a few visual cues that are a little bit different than what I see with his work. But he slowly kind of turned into some of the Chris Hemsworth that we're familiar with.
That surprised me because you're so on knowing in it and you're like, oh, But to me, I enjoyed him. He's evil and dark, but there was, like you said, there's this sinister quality to him, but kind of like, I don't know, he's kind of like a nice sadist. I don't know. It was kind of a weird
He's
little
a very
thing.
charismatic sadist, and that's an always intensely scary villain.
The question is, do you have it in you to make it epic?
I remember a few years ago, I was discussing with one of my friends about the Hunger Games, and Caesar Flickerman is a very popular character when it comes to these kind of discussions.
Right.
Is that there's a character, they're so charismatic, and you're like, oh, that's funny, people are falling for this. Oh, wait, I'm kind of falling for this. That's kind of not good. But Hemsworth really made the contrast between the different kinds of villainy we've seen in the Mad Max universe.
I liked him. Dark as he was, creepy as he was, and he was creepy.
Oh, definitively. The other thing about this movie is I feel like this could be a book. This could be like an epic tome, 1,000 pages, easy.
War and Peace. Here we go. Woo! Redone.
I just think that this is a really great showcase of Miller's talents. Yes, he directed it. Yes, he produced it. Yes, he wrote it. Awesome. I am happy to wait another 10, 15 years if it comes out with a film like this again.
Well, you're young enough you can wait 10, 15 years.
I don't know. I might be knocking his door in like 2 months going, I can't wait, dude. Give me another one. Please,
I
please,
think
please.
that's going to be the consensus, actually. Last thing you had talked about the music had really stood out for you in this movie.
I'm a huge fan of Junkie XL. He's worked with Hans Zimmer in the past, and you can definitely see
It had that feel, right?
the notes and the layers
Yes.
of that pedigree partnership with him. He's really come into his own. I know he'd worked on Justice League prior. This is a man who had an original score, got it scrapped when he's like, okay, we're doing the extended cut. Let's make another one.
It helped the movie. Originally, you had given it a
5.
Solid.
Yeah, and it's still remaining a solid 5. This is one of the movies that I've recommended most to folks.
Wow. So 5 moth, 5 moth, 5 moth. Not even a flinch.
No flinching.
Wow. All right. I know I originally had given it a 4 moth rating. I'm laughing. You're like,
come over to the moth side.
Yeah, I can't quite do it a 5, but I'll give you a wing.
All right. I will spare a wing.
I will spare you a wing, my friend. I would say it is a 4 and a wing to me, and it's a solid 4 and a wing. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't love everything about these movies, but is slowly getting pulled to the dark side. I'm not sure if like Dune has brainwashed me or what, but I definitely
all these
enjoyed
worms,
it.
Man.
Yeah, exactly. No worms were harmed in the making of this movie. Rebecca, tell our cinema community, where might they find this movie that is the masterpiece that you call George Miller's Saga of Furiosa?
You can buy this movie through Apple, YouTube, Amazon. Although, on Amazon, if you want to save some money, you can pay $5 less than the purchase price just to rent it.
Wow. Bargain.
Gotta save money somewhere.
Yeah, I know, right? If you're going to see it all these times, you should invest. Our third, but not least, real good movie is one that I know that I love.
Your heart goes out to it.
Boop, 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 boop. I dragged our cinema community out on the first day of theaters, midweek, mind you, early release in Dolby. Actually, at AMC. AMC provided this to us early. I liked it so much that the next week on my birthday, I actually dragged the box. When he said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to see this movie again. That good.
That good.
Let's tell our cinema community our third real good movie, Kiss the Future.
That's quite a title.
I think everyone needs to see this movie.
And I'll talk about that because I know why I think everybody should see this movie.
In my mind, everyone needs to see this movie. This movie talks about ethnic cleansing. This movie talks about scapegoating groups of people, destroying ways of life, destroying a country, the country that you're meant to lead.
Imagine a president of the United States taking the military. He encircles New York City. He terrorizes the population. That's what Milosevic did to Sarajevo.
Because you don't like a certain way of life or you don't like a certain group of people. For any other reason other than, I just find them undesirable.
The Yugoslav army supposed to protect you. All of a sudden, your protector becomes a monster.
This movie, however, happened during your lifetime, happened during my lifetime. And there are people that you will recognize if you've seen this movie. You'll see what, Bill Clinton, Joe Biden. Of course, U2 is a big part of this. Bill Carter, our documentarian. Love Bill Carter.
I went to Sarajevo, was trying to find my way into an aid organization. I thought if I could get Bono, talk to him about these people, maybe we could have a conversation.
You there, Bill?
Yeah, I hear you, Bono.
I want to say thanks to all you people. We don't feel alone.
I wanted to see this movie, and the footage, it surprised me. There is so much great footage. We did a deep dive review on this movie on this channel. We had so much footage in this movie review for our cinema community to see it. It really was a great documentary. And as we said, it's a timely message.
I really like this movie because at any given point, there is a group of people going through what the people of Sarajevo went through. Movie does give an example of what life looks like under these circumstances.
Journalists were purposefully targeted.
But also talks about the power of art and community.
Without electricity, running water, the urge for art amplified.
We had this wonderful scene, having a disco in the middle of the war. It's the only thing that kept us going.
I can't say no to movies like this. They really tug at my heart.
That's a great point, because we talk about the value of music and art and creativity, and this movie shows what happens, right? The human spirit of what do you do when you're in this circumstance?
What would you do if somebody tells you, okay, you got 5 minutes, what would you do? You do what you like the most. And that's what we love the most. And you know what? I would not say that I wasn't ready to die for it.
And really, it's a question oftentimes that's asked. What do you do when? People are getting married. People are hiding. People are being shot at. This isn't someone just saying, oh, hey, I was there, trust me. This is, you see what the journalist put up. Bill Carter has written a book. In fact, he recently updated the book, The Fools Rush In, and now he teaches in college. He teaches documentary studies. He is passionate about this, but I like him. He's written other books. I think he is someone that is just wicked smart in the ways of the world and has just such compassion. And all of this started from him losing his girlfriend in a tragic car accident and his desire to be part of something. And him thinking, hey, if I can bring Bono on the scene, if I can connect with YouTube, maybe the world will listen.
I think the other thing that makes this movie exceptionally powerful to me is the fact that there are survivors.
The audience was literally risking their life, running from the different bridges to the theater. Our sound guy died before one of those performances.
One day, my bass player came to me and said, oh, our drummer, he lost his hand on the front line.
You have them showing the footage of what they were like back then, but you also have them talking about, hey, here's my perspective from living time in a time of relative peace as well.
I know you had said something on our original deep dive about you don't know what people need, but we need to talk to people that were there and they will tell us what they need versus us just guessing.
I think that helps because it is so easy to guess from our comfy perspective, hey, this is what we think you need. And they're like, no. This is what they actually need because we've lived it.
I appreciated that. That has stayed with me from the time we've seen the movie. I know we had talked about the players, right? We talked about Bill Carter. He's a big part of this. Different people that they were interviewed, Bono and U2. But you had said something on our deep dive that was really great is this is not a U2 concert. This is not only U2. People that know Bono, understand this is just his wheelhouse, right? How do I help people? How do I make a difference in our community, meaning our global community? However, it wasn't just about Bono and everybody else is just pushed to the side. The conflict was front center and how people, like you said, survived this. And even now, several of the people we see, where are they today? What's going on?
And they also talk about how it's changed the people of Sarajevo, say my generation, that would have grown up during this.
That's correct. You actually see Sarajevo today.
I really think the storytelling is what makes this movie a solid documentary. It'd be one thing just to say, oh, this happened, here's examples.
People felt like us, you know, not just us. So many people took instruments, they started feeling creative, they wanted to say something, so we had this wonderful scene.
Here's somebody saying, this is my personal experience, this is what I had to live through.
I think for me, to lay the foundation to tell the story is part of it, because everyone needs to know the story. But if you didn't live through it, or if you don't know it, you're going to need to be caught up. And how does that come about? And I think how it was laid out made complete sense. Right away, I think you were invested in the people that they were interviewing and talking with.
I also think it was very smart to highlight this, because the difference between environments is so jarring. It's one thing to say, okay, we're going through this. It's like, here's why we're going through this. Here's why it was such a culture shock to us.
It was. And to me, I think that's the best part of it, to understand it. Because as we said, things like this have not ended in our world. There is still the mindset of many who, I don't like this person, I don't like this group of people. How do I, eradicate them out of existence, essentially?
I know our editor had discussed with us when we were doing the deep dive that there was so much footage to comb through. It was so difficult to pick what we were going to use on the show. I think that speaks also to the editors of this documentary.
It didn't feel bloated. I also know one of the videos I had sent you in the box that we were looking at it and talking about it was Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were part of the production team that brought this to the theaters. And it was interesting because we were watching that the first night of the movie, right? The first showing. And all of a sudden Matt Damon shows up and says, hey, this is why we need to see this movie.
I wasn't expecting that.
I thought that was great. And that's a video that, our cinema community can check out as well. I think it adds depth to it.
Well, it's also smart too, because one story might not ping with you, but another story might.
That's true. That's a great point. I know, Rebecca, you and I were talking about this isn't a U2 concert. However, the movie culminates in a U2 concert after, 1,400 days, the war ends. And U2 finally shows up and does a concert. I know in our deep dive we talked about them getting to Sarajevo took a long time. But once they were there, this concert that they show parts of, it was really emotional. I know for me, it was tearing up. I was listening, I was tearing up. It was so powerful. 45,000 people were at this concert.
That's nuts.
That's amazing to me. All in an hour and 42 minutes. Loved this movie.
All right. So I know your original rating, you gave this a 5. Still 5?
Oh, 100% a 5.
And for me, I'm a 4 and a wing, and I will stay a 4 and a wing.
Wow. Can't sway to the dark side. Even though it's a real good movie.
It's a real good movie. If you want to see this movie, Paramount Plus got the rights, so you can see it exclusively in the US and Canada.
Rebecca, let's quickly go over our honorable mentions. The ones that didn't make it. The ones that almost got away, but they're still pretty good movies. But they're not really good movies. They're not our top 3.
They're real movies, though.
They're real movies. Our first one is Civil War.
Oh, I remember we were on the fence with this with our top 3.
I know. I really enjoyed the movie. We saw it in XD at our local Cinemark. It was powerful. I appreciated the fact it wasn't overly political. It really was from the viewpoint of journalism. And boy, with our country and the division that our country is experiencing, boy, did this feel timely.
You know what I would do? I would do a double feature of this and Kiss the Future. I'd do Kiss the Future first and then Civil War after it.
Wow. I know we liked Jesse Plemons.
Ah, the man.
The creepy man. Cinematography really grabbed me.
Alex is fantastic for that. I also love the sound design in this movie.
Sound design was really great, especially on the XD.
And you really needed for it to sell some scenes. I feel like some of it just would not be impactful. You can see it now on YouTube, Google Play, Fandango, Apple TV, and it's on Amazon Prime as video on demand. So yes, you will have to spend a bit of coin, but it's a pretty good film from a pretty awesome director.
We also did a deep dive on Cocoon Cast, so check that out. That's on our channel as well.
Our next film, Ezra, was a little bit of a personal movie for me. I have kind of a personal connection with the source material, and I like the fact that not everybody's the bad guy. Parenting is tough, especially when it's a kid with autism.
The movie was great. We had seen it a little bit early. I found it interesting as I was looking further into it. As you said, it's not a sappy movie. It's the challenges that families have, and it's not just the parents, it's the grandparents, it's the friends, it's Ezra himself. The actor who played Ezra is a 15-year-old young man with autism. William Fitzgerald, right? He's from Jersey. Great story, and it was funny because the writer, the director, right, all of this, they have a connection with the autism piece. So there is a semi-autobiographical piece. I even read that Robert De Niro has a child with autism. I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody's in this.
Well, it was hilarious because
like, wow.
I'm not on the parent perspective. I'm on the kid perspective.
Sure.
So it was kind of funny, some of it, and like, that feels too real. That feels really real.
I appreciated it. It was a good movie. I hope our cinema community checks it out.
You can find this movie on YouTube, Vudu, always fun to say, Google Play Movies, Fandango at Home, Apple Marketplace, Amazon Video, Microsoft Store, and Spectrum On Demand. Oh, that's ironic.
I know, right? That's what I'm thinking. Our next honorable mention is the movie Rebecca was super excited about, but yet didn't make it on the 3 real good movies. It's Bike Riders.
I have been waiting for this movie all year, and I was not disappointed. Mike Nichols, you delivered it again. There's definitely a lot of real-life touches, considering this movie is inspired by a collection of photographs. The end, you can actually see some of the photographs. The casting, freaking awesome. Austin Butler, Tom Hardy, Jodie Comer, and yes, Norman Reedus shows up with his bike in tow as well.
This movie was funnier than I thought it was going to be.
It's Goodfellas meets Sons of Anarchy.
It really was. Like you said, the photographs at the end, there's a great epilogue based on a true story, and a lot of twists and turns at the end. I was laughing. I was teasing you. It felt almost a little Soprano-ish.
I can see that. You know, the other thing I thought you were going to bring up was Rebel Without a Cause.
Oh, back in the day. Okay, well, yeah, that's back in my mom's generation. My mom would probably go see it if I said that.
Well, you should drag her.
Hey, 83-year-old, she'll oh, hey, I'm going. What? Woo-hoo.
Marla Brando, what?
Exactly. I enjoyed the movie. It was funny because this movie, as the time of we're recording this, it's still playing at some of the AMCs and Cinemarks in our area.
That being said, it is on video on demand, so if you want to watch it from the comfort of your own home, that's possible too. Our final honorable mention is something a little bit old school. Thelma.
Thelma! I loved Thelma.
Oh, that was fun.
Oh, it was so good. We saw this in early release. How do you not love this movie? There was great chemistry, so sweet, but the premise is hilarious. Right, Grandma gets scammed.
That's
Thelma
hilarious.
gets scammed, and she's going for it. She's like, "I'm not going to wait around for the money." But it's more than just that, though.
Yeah, sure. Thelma's awesome. She's a bedbud, as we like to say on the show.
Yeah, right.
But she also brings up some really good points. Is as she's getting older, she feels really lost in that her family's not joining her with her on this journey. And on the other side, you have her grandson saying the same thing from a younger perspective. Plus, you have some guest stars that are pretty sweet. Richard Roundtree, rest in peace. He was pretty good. I loved seeing her unleash her inner Tom Cruise and just going for it.
Oh, and they did, too. There was a lot of spoofs around Mission Impossible, and it's kind of like Fall Guy, right? It's like everybody can make fun of. I know there was a point at Tom Cruise, and she's like, he runs funny.
It feels like something your grandma would say.
I agree with that. And I just thought it felt so natural, even though I don't know if your grandma would, hop on a, candy apple red scooter and, go after them.
Well, maybe my grandpa would.
Yeah, that's probably true, actually. I appreciated what you were saying, though, too, because you were saying nobody's the bad guy. And I honestly
Except for one very bad guy.
Oh, but that was so clear, though, right? It wasn't like mom and dad. It wasn't her. It wasn't the grandson. The part that I really thought was sweet, though, if you stay to the end, there's a little video clip and there's a real Thelma.
And it's really sweet because it's one of the moments you'll recognize in the movie and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I see so much of that in this character.
I appreciate that. I love the fact that they didn't rename Thelma someone else. It's just like Thelma was Thelma.
Thelma was Thelma.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Jen Squibb nailed this though.
Yes, and she's what, 93? Yeah, she's with it.
Plus, I know the box really liked Parker Posey and Clark Gregg's performances as well.
So
we
yeah,
gotta
your
mention
buddies,
that.
right? There it is.
If you want to see this movie, it's still playing in several theaters on a very extremely limited basis, especially if you're Cinemark. But it is available on video on demand, and HBO Max, or just Max as it's now known, will be having it on November 25th, 2024. So mark your calendars, and don't confuse it with Thelma the Unicorn.
Thanks for joining us for Real Good Movies. We're always excited to create experiences to bring our cinema community together.
Watch the notifications for our weekly 1-minute reviews, and we've recently started to do extended reviews that go beyond the 1-minute short.
Please remember to like, subscribe. It really helps us out. And don't forget to share our channel with your friends.
If you enjoyed this movie review, you might click the link to check out our deep dive review of The Fall Guy, or click the other link to watch our other deep dive review of Kiss the Future.
Remember, cinema community movies are better together. Thanks for watching. See you in the next top 3 reviews.